We are honored and fortunate to have the first female president of the Florida Bar and also longstanding federal district court judge from the Southern District, Judge Patricia Seitz, to lead us in the invocation.
O Lord, our God, our Creator and Sustainer, we gather today as one to give thanks to you for the many blessings that you have given us, particularly the precious legacy we have inherited in our Constitution. Through it and your commandments, you have shown us the path of righteousness that leads to freedom and liberty, which are the very breath of life. Inflame in each of us a mighty desire to use the gifts you have given us to achieve a just and compassionate society where all your children may share in your gifts and experience the joy of serving others before self to achieve peace and goodwill. Please bless this food, those who prepared it and served it, so that all of us who share in it may use it to thy service. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
So now I'd like to welcome up Judge Chris Miller out of Daytona Beach, and almost as importantly, the husband of our annual convention committee chair, Kathryn Hirsch Miller, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So welcome everyone to the 2019 Judicial Luncheon, where we honor our state's judiciary. I'd like to introduce our head table. We just had give the Pledge of Allegiance, Judge Chris Miller. We have next to him Judge David Dinkin, President of the Florida Conference of County Court Judges. To his right is Judge Angela Crowden, Chair of the Florida Conference of Circuit Judges. Continuing along, we have Chief Judge Jonathan D. Gerber, President of the Florida Conference of DCA Judges. You've heard from Judge Seitz of the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida. We have Dory Foster Morales, President-elect designate for one more day before she becomes President-elect of the Florida Bar. We have the Chief Justice of the Florida Supreme Court, Charles Canady, and our keynote speaker today. Governor Ron DeSantis has landed, according to my phone, so he's en route. Will also be a featured guest speaker. To his right, Judge Robin S. Rosenbaum from the 11th Judicial Circuit. We have Kathryn Hirsch Miller, who, aside from being a former president of the Young Lawyers Division Board of Governors, is this year's chair of the annual convention committee. And then we have Josh Doyle, the executive director of the Florida Bar. So, Kathryn, I'd like to invite you up to make a few comments.
I just want to say thank you all for being here. This is one of my favorite events at convention and one of the biggest judicial luncheons that we've ever had. So I am grateful for all of you coming here today. I don't know about you, but I don't often get to eat lunch with the governor and members of the court, so this is just an extreme honor, and we are very appreciative of the court and the governor's office and everyone who put this together. Thankful to the annual convention committee and the bar staff, and for each of you taking time out of your busy work to be here with us today and all throughout convention. If you haven't been welcomed to convention yet, welcome. We are glad you are here. We hope you come to as many events as possible. We have a presidential showcase tomorrow afternoon. We have the General Assembly tomorrow morning. We have wonderful events this afternoon. The court will be judging the moot court for the Young Lawyers Division, and that is always a treat to see some of the best law students in the state argue before the Florida Supreme Court. And of course, the receptions this afternoon and the reception tomorrow evening, the President's reception, will be back here in this room. Again, thank you for your time. I am so grateful and appreciative that you're here and that we get to break bread together. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathryn. And so this event is to honor Florida's judiciary. I'd like to recognize all of the judges in the room, and we'll start with all of the current and former Florida Supreme Court justices who are in attendance today. Please stand and be recognized. Next, we'd ask that all federal judges in attendance please stand and be recognized. All of our District Court of Appeals judges, please stand so we can welcome you. All of our circuit court judges, please stand to be recognized. All of our county court judges, welcome, please stand. All of the administrative law judges that are in attendance, please stand so we can recognize you as well. And last but not least, all judges of compensation claims, please stand and be welcome. We are very fortunate to have as our featured speaker for the 2019 Judicial Luncheon, Governor Ron DeSantis. Governor DeSantis is the 46th governor of the great state of Florida and is the former U.S. representative for Florida's 6th district. A native Floridian, Governor DeSantis worked his way through Yale University, where he graduated with honors and was the captain of the varsity baseball team. He also graduated with honors from Harvard Law School. While at Harvard, he earned a commission in the U.S. Navy as a JAG officer. During active duty service, he supported operations at the Terrorist Detention Center in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, and deployed to Iraq as an advisor to U.S. Navy SEAL commander in support of missions in Fallujah, Ramadi, and the rest of the Al-Anbar province. His military decorations includes a Bronze Star Medal for meritorious service and the Iraq Campaign Medal. After active service, Ron served as a federal prosecutor where he targeted and convicted child predators. He still serves in the U.S. Navy Reserve. He was first elected to Congress in 2012, where he sponsored legislation to make it easier for the military to prosecute sexual assault and authored the bill to end the secret taxpayer-funded slush fund for members of Congress to make hush payoffs for sexual harassment. Ron is married to Casey DeSantis, an Emmy Award-winning television host. Together, they're the proud parents of their daughter Madison and their son Mason. We're very honored to welcome Governor DeSantis to speak to us at the 2019 Judicial Luncheon. Governor.
Thank you. Oh, please be seated. Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please be seated. Great to be here. It's great to be here. I want to thank John. I want to thank everybody in attendance. It's always great to be in Boca Raton, and so we're happy to be here. You guys picked a good spot to do this, and I'm honored to be able to speak and say a few things at the Judicial Luncheon. It's been one of the privileges of being governor is being able to have a role in putting some really good people on the various levels of the judiciary here in the state of Florida, and I'm happy to say that we have some real stars who've been put on there during my first 6 months. Of course, when I took office, we had, did you even have a quorum, Mr. Chief Justice, at the time? I think they needed 5 for a quorum, and so they had 4 sitting justices. We made a very quick selection, then eventually filled in the others, and so we're obviously proud of the Supreme Court justices who are all very, very well respected, smart, and have done a great job. But we've appointed people to the appeals courts, circuit judges, county judges. We've appointed so far, I think 22 judges at various levels. And I think that the excellence has been uniform throughout that 22. But I think you look and we're really doing a good job of putting diverse people on the bench. Out of 22 selections, half of my selections have been either Hispanic, African American, or Asian American, and almost half have been women. We had 50%, then I just did 2 more, and both those happen to be guys. But bottom line is, these things just go back, but bottom line is that's a higher percentage than I think are represented in the bar. And so we think that, I think these are folks who have done a good job, will continue to do a good job. And it's something that I take seriously. I actually have not selected anybody that I haven't personally interviewed yet, and I think I'll probably continue that practice. It's important to be able to sit down and talk to people about, you can read a resume about, where you went to school and what you've done professionally, and all that's important. But, to sit down and talk to people about, what do they consider their role to be if they're on the county court or the circuit court or the district court of appeals or obviously the Supreme Court of Florida. And, as I've thought about, kind of what I look for in terms of the philosophy, I was thinking about how this stuff can be portrayed, in kind of the political debate when we're candidates and how I actually apply that in practice. I mean, one example would be, I am against, and everybody who runs for office, certainly on the Republican side, is against, judicial activism. And I think that if that activism means that you're departing from the judicial role to usurp legislative powers, then that certainly is not something we want, and I think that should be something that is frowned upon. But there's nothing wrong with being an active judge if you're confining yourself to the judicial sphere, that you're applying the law as written. But there are times when not wanting to be activist, meaning not wanting to take legislative decisions, which is 100% true, means that judges should try to do as little as possible. Well, you're charged with making decisions, and judges need to be willing to make decisions. And so I'm not somebody that says you always have to be minimalistic when you're doing this. Trying to figure out ways to read things in a certain way. I mean, sometimes you got to decide a case or controversy. As long as you're doing that with an appreciation for the judge's proper but limited role, as long as you're reasonably interpreting the Constitution, the statutes, and you're not injecting your own perspective, being active doesn't necessarily mean you're not doing it well. So judicial activism bad when it means usurping legislative power, but being somebody who's willing to make decisions is something that's good. And that's why, with the whole judicial restraint, generally speaking on the campaign trail, I say that, and I do believe that. But what I really mean is you're restraining yourself to your proper sphere. But if you get 3 straight cases where the legislature has violated the First Amendment, and that's what they did, then you should uphold the Constitution, and you shouldn't be shy about doing that. And likewise, And likewise, when you hear some say, and I haven't said this as much, but some certainly in my party will talk about, wanting strict constructionists. And again, if it means you want a judge that's strictly going to confine him or herself to construing the law and applying the law rather than making the law, then definitely I'm on board with that. But the Constitution and the statutes, they're not necessarily supposed to be, read expansively or strictly. They should be read correctly and accurately. And there are provisions of the Constitution in which the people have delegated robust powers to the Congress. Obviously, there's provisions of the Constitution here in Florida where that is the case. And if that is the case, then I think judges should apply that responsibly and reasonably. But you shouldn't go out of your way to restrict the power that has been granted, just like you shouldn't go out of your way to create things in the Constitution that are not there. So yes, you are a constructionist. You should not be going beyond that. But I don't think that you always need to read the Constitution as parsimoniously as possible. And I don't think that when people say that in terms of the political debate, they necessarily mean that. But I mean, words do have meaning, and we just got to do that. So I think that the folks that we put on there really understand that. They understand that when judges are doing their proper function, that strengthens the constitutional order, but they understand when judges go beyond that, how that can disfigure the constitutional order. And so the people that really, have that strong sense are folks that are going to earn favor with me in terms of being on the courts. Also just want to say, since we're here at the bar, we've enlisted, some of the great lawyers in our state to help with some of our initiatives outside of the judicial selection. One of the things that we've done is a program called Forward March to deal with all kinds of veterans and active duty military issues throughout the state of Florida. And that involves things like suicide prevention. It involves post-traumatic stress. It involves, really a wide variety of issues. Well, one of the issues that there have been issues with is legal services for active duty military. If you're stationed at, Pensacola Naval Air Station and you have a problem before you're going to deploy, they can help you do certain things. But if you're being sued by your landlord because you're trying to break your lease because you're going to be spending a year in Afghanistan, that person on the base is not allowed to go into the courts and defend you. And so there's a gap. So we've created a program called Lawyers Assisting Warriors, where when there are those types of gaps, we have a number of law firms that have agreed to offer pro bono services to our active duty military. And, these are firms like Greenberg Traurig, Holland and Knight. I mean, they charge a lot of money. And so the fact that they're willing to step up and help our active duty military, I think is very, very good. And I think it really speaks to the character of so many of the folks who are practicing law in the state of Florida, that when a need is there for people that are out there defending our freedoms, that they're going to step up, no questions asked. So we've launched the program. We've already gotten some positive results. Obviously, we'll have to tweak it as things go forward. But I can just tell you, I just came this morning from Jacksonville, where we sent off a National Guard unit that's going to be deploying in the Middle East. And, when you have those types of things on the horizon, and you have maybe a lawsuit pending at home or other types of problems, I'll tell you, it's very difficult to be forward deployed when you have some of those issues, particularly for service members that have a spouse and kids. And so when we see issues and these folks are up there willing to put on the uniform for us, we want to mobilize the talent that we have in the state of Florida to be able to help them out. And I can tell you, when that is done, and then people do get called to have to go deploy, they're in a much better frame of mind to be able to serve our country, knowing that there's folks that are willing to stand up for them back home. And I think that a lot of people don't even realize just with our Guard how many people are going over there here in Florida. But I mean, we really support the active duty mission. And then obviously we have so many active duty installations here in the state of Florida that it's really, really important. So for all those law firms who are participating in our GI law program, your governor thanks you. And for any of you who are affiliated with other firms who would like to participate in there, call our office. We can get you guys in the hopper. But I think it's a really, really meaningful way to be able to do the pro bono, which is expected of so many people who are here, and do it in a way that's really making an identifiable positive impact. So I'm glad to be here. We will be doing some more appointments in the judiciary very soon, and I think that you're going to continue to see a lot of quality folks take the bench in the state of Florida. So I've been happy with the folks that have been brought before me. I've been impressed, and it's really been an honor to be able to participate in that. So thank you all for having me, and I hope you have a wonderful conference for the rest of the time down in Boca Raton. Thank you, guys. God bless you.
We have two awards that I have the pleasure of giving today, and then we get to hear from the Chief Justice, who is also going to give an award. First, I will present the William M. Hoover Judicial Professionalism Award. This award is given annually by the Henry Latimer Center for Professionalism and the Standing Committee on Professionalism. The purpose of this award is to recognize an active judge who best exemplifies strength of character, service, and competence as a jurist, a lawyer, and a public servant. The recipient of the 2019 William M. Hoover Judicial Professionalism Award is the Honorable Andrea R. Wolfson from the 11th Judicial Circuit, Miami-Dade County. Judge Wolfson demonstrates the highest ideals of professionalism and justice while inspiring others to do the same. Early in her career, she established a reputation as, quote, courteous, professional, well-prepared, respectful, fair, and never compromising her ethics. Judge Wolfson is currently assigned to criminal court, where she is particularly attuned to the human side of criminal proceedings. She is patient, calm, and courteous to victims and defendants alike. She also takes time to make sure the litigants understand court processes and court procedures. Additionally, she frequently steps from behind the bench to mentor young attorneys and to serve in many capacities in the local and legal community. Judge Wolfson is co-chair of the 11th Judicial Circuit Professionalism Committee, teaches a mock trial course at the new Judges College each year, and speaks to voluntary bar associations about the mandatory professionalism requirements implemented by the Florida Supreme Court. Judge Wolfson, who is nominated by fellow judges, is the embodiment of professionalism in the judiciary. Congratulations, Judge Wolfson. The next Professionalism Award recognizes a Florida Law School faculty member or administrator who, through teaching, scholarship, and service to the profession, best exemplifies the mission of the Standing Committee on Professionalism. This year's recipient is of the Law Faculty Administrator. This year's recipient of the Law Faculty Administrator Award is Nancy Benavides, Associate Dean for Student Advancement at Florida State University College of Law. Nancy, please come up. Dean Benavides designed, created, and is directing a new professionalism program called Raising the Bar to teach law students about the bar application process and exam preparation, and presents wellness topics addressing mental, physical, and financial health. In addition, Dean Benavides helped establish the highly successful Summer for Undergraduates program, which has been recognized by the American Bar Association as a national model for diversity enhancement. She is also recognized for designing the law school's Board of Visitors program, comprised of major donor alumni. The board provides students with networking opportunities and ongoing mentoring relationships that are the basis for successful professionalism training. Since 1997, she has served on a multitude of national, state, and local legal school committees, and her efforts have garnered many awards. Dean B, as her students and alumni call her, demonstrates the 4 C's of professionalism: character, competence, commitment, and civility in her daily professional life, is an inspiration to future lawyers. Congratulations, Dean Benavides. Now it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Chief Justice Charles Canady. Chief Justice Canady was born in Lakeland. He received his BA from Haverford College in 1976 and his JD from Yale Law School in 1979. Justice Canady practiced with the law firm of Holland & Knight in Lakeland for 3 years following his graduation. He then practiced with the firm of Lane Trone from 1983 through 1992. From 1984 to 1990, Justice Canady served 3 terms in the Florida House of Representatives, and from 1993 to 2001, he served 4 terms in the United States House of Representatives. Throughout his 8-year service in Congress, Justice Canady was a member of the House Judiciary Committee. For 3 terms, from 1999 to 2001, Justice Canady was the chairman of the House Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution. After leaving Congress, Justice Canady became general counsel to Governor Jeb Bush. In 2002, he was appointed by the governor to the 2nd District Court of Appeal. In 2008, Justice Canady was appointed to the Florida Supreme Court by Governor Charlie Crist. He served as Chief Justice from 2010 through 2012, and in 2018, he was again elected by his colleagues to serve as Chief Justice for a second time. He is married to Jennifer Houghton Canady, and they have 2 children. Please welcome Chief Justice Canady.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, thank you for that warm greeting, and John, thank you for the kind introduction. I'm delighted to be here today. I want to begin by thanking the Florida Bar on behalf of all the judges here for sponsoring this luncheon. We really appreciate it. I also want to thank all the lawyers who are here as part of this effort to honor our state judiciary. It was a special honor also to be here today with Governor DeSantis. We are very grateful in the judicial branch for the governor's support of our branch. We are very grateful most recently for being spared the veto pen in the budgetary process. And it was, the governor has, as you know, a big job being the chief executive of a state of this size. There are a lot of different places he could be on any given day. And for him to choose to be here today, I think speaks well of his respect for the judiciary and for the bar in this state. So for that, I am very grateful. Now, since becoming a judge, I have valued the opportunity to be with lawyers and judicial colleagues from around the state for this annual Judicial Luncheon. And I am grateful for the opportunity that I have today. Once again, this is the 3rd time as Chief Justice to express appreciation to all the judges who serve the people of Florida. Thank you. Thank you for your dedicated and diligent efforts in providing justice for the people of our state. It's a challenging job that we as judges have, but we have an excellent group of judges, federal and state, at all tiers of the court system, providing justice for the people of this state. And as the Chief Administrative Officer of the state court system, I want to say thank you for the work you do day in and day out for the people of Florida. I also want to say a special word of thanks to my colleagues in the administration of the Florida State Court System. That is the chief judges of the circuit and district courts. We have an excellent, and I'd like for all the chief judges to stand, if you would. We have an excellent team of chief judges who do the hard work every day of ensuring the proper administration of our court system. Now, I will say this, I'm the chief judge of the Florida Supreme Court, in addition to being the chief justice of the whole court system. But my court is the smallest court. So as the chief judge, I really have the easiest job, and in some of the circuits, the challenges are very great, and in particular the circuits, the job of a chief judge is a very big responsibility. It's a taxing job, new challenges every day, and I'm deeply grateful for the work that the chief judges of all our courts do day in and day out. Now, today I also want to say thanks to my wonderful colleagues on the Florida Supreme Court for allowing me to be the Chief Justice. Now, I was elected last year, so not everybody here got a chance to vote for me, but maybe I shouldn't say this, but you know, you can throw me out anytime. I've got to always keep a majority of the court happy with me, but I am so grateful for the colleagues I have had and have on the Florida Supreme Court. We have a wonderful group of people, and I'd like to ask Justice Wolfson to stand. Justice Labarga. Justice Lawson. Justice Lagoa. Justice Luck. Justice Muniz. Well, they are all wonderful colleagues, and I am proud to claim them all as dear friends. And it's wonderful to be able to work every day with people with whom you can have that sort of relationship. So I'm grateful for their deep commitment to the work of the court and for their friendship. Now, a critical part of each year in the life of our court system is what happens during the legislative session, particularly what happens on budgetary issues affecting the operation of our courts. This year in our legislative session was a banner year for the state court system. A wide range of budgetary requests that we submitted as the judicial branch were funded by the legislative branch. It covers a wide range of things, from new windows that were to repair the windows that were damaged at the 5th District Court of Appeal from a storm, to enhanced funding for problem-solving courts. But at the top of our list of ask going into the legislative session was an issue that was fully funded also. And this was the issue of $10.3 million for improving recruitment and retention of court staff. It's a pay package to help us address the problems we've had with recruiting and retaining court staff throughout our system. And we've had a problem because in many circumstances, we find that our employees are being poached by other governmental entities. And we just have not been able to compete with other parts of government. Now, we know we're never going to be able to compete with the private sector. But when we're losing employees to other branches of government, that's a problem for the judicial branch, and that has been happening. And of course, judges can't do the work that we're called on to do unless we have adequate support from court staff. It's a critical part of the functioning of our branch. So, last summer, we decided that this was going to be our priority for the branch and going to the legislature. And I am so glad to say that this priority item in our branch legislative agenda was funded by the legislature this year. And we believe that this $10.3 million will help us close the gap with other public sector employers. So we're deeply grateful for the support that we received on that issue, as well as other issues from all the members of the legislature. I need to acknowledge President Galvano, Speaker Oliva, House Appropriations Chair Travis Cummings, Senate Appropriations Chair Rob Bradley, about whom I'm going to have a little more to say in a moment, Appropriations Subcommittee Chairs Senator Jeff Brandis and Representative Clay Yarbrough, who chair our subcommittees, the subcommittee that deals with our issues. All of them are wonderful people to work with. They've always been open to us and to hear the concerns we have as a separate branch of government for the needs. And again, when we go to the legislature for funding, it's about helping our branch function the way it should so we can better serve the people. It's all about serving the people who come to court to get justice. So I'm very grateful to the members of the legislature, in particular the people who help shape our budget that I've just mentioned. Now, when we go into that process, there are many judges who work tirelessly to present the branch's needs to the members of the legislature. I can't mention all the people who are on our legislative team of judges, but I do want to recognize some who are on the podium here with me today. Judge Dinkin, Judge Cowden, and Judge Gerber, representing their respective conferences. Thank you so much for your leadership and your support of the branch in the legislative arena. And of course, the judges who are involved in that process of representing the branch before the legislature are diligently supported by the Office of the State Court Administrator under the outstanding leadership of Lisa Keel. Some of you may know her as Lisa Goodner. She's back after a period of retirement working as a State Court Administrator, and she and her team have done an outstanding job in presenting our message to the legislature. And of course, every step along the way in the process in the legislature, the leadership of the Florida Bar and the Florida Bar's legislative team were there supporting our state courts. And we are deeply grateful to you for everything the bar does for the state court system. Now, earlier, when I expressed gratitude to the legislative leaders who have helped shape our budget, I mentioned Senator Rob Bradley, Chairman of the Senate Appropriations Committee. The court system in Florida has many friends in the legislature, but there is no legislator who has been more of a champion for the judicial branch than Senator Rob Bradley. Our success in obtaining the $10.3 million recruitment and retention pay package that I mentioned earlier came this year only because of Senator Bradley's actions. It would not have happened but for his leadership role. Now, that's just one among many issues on which Senator Bradley has provided decisive support for our branch in the legislative process, in particular, the appropriations process. Now, Senator Bradley, I'm glad to say, is here with us today, is a member of the Florida Bar. He represents the 5th District in the Florida Senate. The 5th District, if you look at it on a map, it covers a large swath of territory in North Florida, all of 10 counties and a portion of an 11th county. Now, having been a politician myself, I know that's a challenging area to represent, to have such a big area and so many a diverse interest in a district like that. That's a challenging district. Senator Bradley was elected to the Senate in 2012. Prior to his election to the Senate, he served on the county commission in Clay County. He's also served as a member of St. John's State College Board of Trustees. Earlier in his career as a lawyer, he was an assistant state attorney in the 4th Judicial Circuit, and he is now the managing partner of the law firm of Bradley, Garrison, and Commando in Orange Park, Florida. Senator Bradley has chaired the Senate Appropriations Committee since November 2017. Now, this year's budget for the state of Florida is nearly $91 billion. Now, I think that number should give you some idea of the magnitude of the responsibility shouldered by the Appropriations Committee chairman. It is one of the toughest jobs in the legislature. The people who are selected to chair the Appropriations Committees are people who are known to be hard workers. They are people who are known to tackle issues and to be able to command a wide range of issues and understand complex issues. They're the workhorses of the legislature, because you can imagine dealing with all those different subject areas covering the whole gamut of issues funded by the state. It presents an enormous challenge just to have the understanding you need to be making sensible decisions about the funding choices that must be made. And of course, there's a limited pot of money. And one of the requirements for being a chairman of an appropriations committee is having the ability to say no. We understand that. That's part of the process. You can't say yes to everybody. But I know the people I've known who've been in that position, they want to say yes when they can. They want to meet the needs of this state in the most effective way that is possible. And so that's the job that Senator Bradley has had now since November of 2017. Now, I had the privilege of meeting Senator Bradley shortly after he was first elected to the Senate in 2012. I don't know if the senator remembers that. I believe you came to my office with Senator Negron. And I believe that maybe Justice Polston brought you down there because he was chief at the time. I had just gone out as chief. I was in my recovery period after my first term as chief, and Justice Polston brought you down to my office. And we had a wonderful visit then. And from that very first meeting, I knew that our branch was indeed fortunate that the people of his district had chosen Rob Bradley to represent them in the Florida Senate. Year after year, time after time, Senator Bradley has been there for our branch. He supports our courts because he supports justice for Floridians. He is a champion of our courts because he is a champion of justice. Senator Bradley, we are deeply grateful to you for your work on behalf of justice in our state. It is my great honor to present the Florida Bar Legislative Award to you, Senator Bradley, in recognition of your outstanding efforts in the cause of justice. Your work on behalf of the judicial branch will leave a lasting legacy that benefits Floridians for many years to come. Senator Bradley, please come forward.
Wow. This is special. Thank you, Chief. First of all, for those incredibly kind words. The feeling's mutual, my friend, in that I remember that meeting very well. We actually went, I'll add a little color to that story. We actually went to the top of the court and looked at the fact that the building was collapsing, literally, quite literally. And realized that we had to get a new roof or things were going to get ugly in Tallahassee. And that was kind of the purpose of the meeting. And we literally had the Chief Justice, the past Chief Justice, the incoming Senate President, myself, and we were looking at this rotting wood in the top of the court. And and from that point forward, I've really enjoyed our relationship. The fact that you were the person that spoke and gave me this award is particularly meaningful as well, because you're someone who has really devoted their life to public service in all three branches of government, the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. So that was particularly meaningful to me that you gave me the award. So thank you, sir. I also want to thank the Florida Bar and President Michelle Suskauer. Michelle has done a really incredible job, I think, of engaging the legislature on these issues of judicial funding, the judicial branch funding, and her passion for issues like criminal justice reform. That's a passion that Michelle and I share, and I think has been very effective in moving the ball forward. And I would encourage the Florida Bar to remain engaged. The Chief was exactly right when in his comments about the Florida Bar. Listen, we're lawyers who understand the unique role of the judicial system in our system of government better than those who are not in the judicial system and don't practice law. And so it's important, I think it's our duty as lawyers to strongly advocate for the branch and the Florida Bar's role, not just on funding issues, but on substantive issues in the appropriate times, like criminal justice reform, I think was quite appropriate and much appreciated by somebody like myself who shares and is of like mind. And finally, I want to mention, you heard from our new Governor DeSantis, and I tell you, I've gotten to know the governor. He's from our area of the state. He's a special guy. He really speaks from the heart, speaks very plainly, as I think you got a sense of today. And one thing that I know is that he respects, appreciates, and understands the role of the judiciary in our system of government. You could see that oozing through today. He was talking off the top of his head about a very clear vision for the judiciary, and he respects and understands the judiciary and how important the judiciary is in our system of government. And I'm very, very excited and pleased that the governor feels that way. He's a lawyer himself. And I will tell you that he was a very strong partner, as the Chief mentioned, in making sure that the court had the funding that they need, the court system as a whole had the funding that they need to be successful. With that said, as a legislator and as a practicing attorney, this award is very, very personally important to my wife Jennifer and I, as she's a practicing attorney as well. And I really thank you for the recognition.
Well, I'll echo the congratulations and thanks you to Senator Bradley and also to Chief Justice Canady. You know, as everyone knows, but maybe doesn't always have on the top of their mind, the court really runs and oversees and in charge of the bar. And frankly, the bar's success is in large part due to the court's invested in the bar's success and also the personal relationships that we build. As we travel around the country, we find that that's not always the case. And so just thank you again from the bar for all that you do for us and for the relationship that we're able to carry on. And so with that, I'm going to ask our annual convention chair, Kathryn Hirsch Miller, to make some closing remarks.
I think it's fitting with the theme of unconventional that I see it's before 1:30 and we're giving closing remarks. So please stay in here and socialize and enjoy each other's company as long as your schedules permit. But I just wanted to say again, thank you for being here. Thank you, judges, for the work that you do for the state of Florida. Thank you, lawyers, for supporting judges. Thank you most specifically, and let me leave you with this, with our sponsors for today. We had an incredible group of sponsors who made today possible. And so thank you to each of those law firms, law schools, and voluntary bars that are here. Thank you all. Have a wonderful convention.